A second way that some of us become animal rights advocates, I call the Damascens. Now, you know the story about Saul on the road to Damascus in the Bible. Saul is called up to Damascus by other people who are detractors of Jesus. And what's happening in Damascus is that people are starting to listen to Jesus. And so the detractors of Jesus say, we got to do something about this. So they say, Saul, come on up here to Damascus, and you're a good preacher. Preach against Jesus, and let's put a lid on this pot before it boils. And on the road to Damascus, so the biblical story goes, Saul hears this voice speaking from the heavens. And there are various artistic expressions of what happens here. But Saul hears this voice speaking from the heavens, saying to him, Saul, Saul, why doth thou forsake me? And it's Jesus' voice speaking from the heavens to Saul on the road to Damascus. And of course this has an incredible impact on Saul. And on the basis of this single experience, Saul, the principal detractor of Jesus, becomes Paul, the principal apostle of Jesus. So Damascens, as animal rights advocates then, would have been going along in life, living their life in a certain kind of way, and then they have this transforming, life-altering experience, just as Saul did on the road to Damascus. They have a new consciousness. They have this sense, not something based on proof again, it's something that happens to them, rather than something that they figure out. I'll give you an example of someone that we've met during the 40 years we've been involved in the struggle for animal rights who had a Damascus moment. This man's name was Heinz, and he lived in Berlin, Germany. And he was a young boy during the Second World War. And what would happen was when the Allies would bomb, everybody would go into air raid shelters or into basements until the bombing cleared, the sirens were heard, and they knew it was safe to come out. So after one particular long siege, the sirens rang, and Heinz comes out. He's about 10 years old at the time. And he's standing there, and you know what a horse sounds like on cobblestone streets, on stone streets, when the clickety-clop of a horse as they come down the street. Well, Heinz comes out of the basement, and he hears this horse running towards him. Clap, 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 at a very fast pace. And then running straight at Heinz, this 10-year-old boy, a big horse. And the horse is on fire from his nose to his tail. It's just a ball of fire. And what had happened apparently was that some gasoline had been poured, it was poured on him somehow and caught fire. And so here comes this blazing horse running right at this 10-year-old boy, Heinz. And just before he is about to run over him, he veers and saves him. But as he does so, he looks Heinz in the eye. His eye, the horse's eye, looks Heinz in the eye. And Heinz was transformed. He was a new person. From that day forward, the meaning of his life was, what can I do to help animals? What can I do? Because the horse, as he goes by, Heinz said, it was as if the horse said to me, why aren't you helping me? What have I done to deserve this? So there are some animal rights advocates who are Damascens, who are transformed like that. So we have the Da Vincians who are born that way, and with the Damascens who are transformed that way. And then we have what I call, well, let me elaborate a bit on what I mean by this Damascus experience. You know, if you look at this, what do you see? What do you see in this image?
Holy Grail.
A vase, right? But then you can see two faces, right? So a change of perception is when, like, I only always saw things this way, a vase, and then you have a change of perception. Oh, wait a minute, there are two faces there. I can see there are two faces there. So what happens when Damascus have a change of perception is that it changes who they are. It's like they become a new person in the world, and instead of seeing other animals as something to be turned into food, they see them as sociable creatures. Or instead of seeing them as something to be turned into clothes, they see them as models of stoicism, cows in a field. Who can be more stoic than a cow in a field? And instead of seeing them as something to train to entertain us, they see them as someone who's wise in the ways of the world. Instead of seeing them as something to vanquish, they see them as families to be protected. And instead of seeing them as something to turn into tools, Damascus see them as exemplars of intelligence. A change of perception. In these and countless other ways, Damascans, who are animal rights advocates, have a change of perception in the blink of an eye, a change that extends to all their relationships with other animals. So again, as they say, we have the Da Vincians, and we have the Damascans, and then we have what I call the muddlers. And the muddlers are people who are just going on through life, you know, nothing terribly exciting. But they start to learn something about what's happening to animals in the world. You know, perhaps they come to an event like this and they see the video, or they hear what somebody says, and they start to think. A muddler is someone who doesn't get there very fast. You know, it's kind of just muddling along, which means you're just kind of you're moving in a certain direction, but slow. So there's no Damascus moments here. Muddlers, nothing in the genes and nothing dramatic or transforming. They just muddle along. And what happens with a muddler, and I say this as a muddler, because I'm not no Damascus moment in my life and no Da Vincian genes in my body. What happens with a muddler is you start thinking about stuff, and you start experiencing stuff too. Like I say, an example would be today. Somebody sees one of those images in one of those films, and they think, what is going on there? And they find the answer to that question. But that question leads to leads to another question. Well, what is a fur farm? What is a factory farm? What is the Dre's test? What is the LD50? All these questions keep cropping up, and a muddler just muddles along. And if you complete the journey, if a muddler, all moving slow, but if a muddler finally gets there, what happens is there is a change of perception. What happens is one day you look in a mirror and you see an animal rights advocate looking back at you. It takes time. For muddlers to say, this is not my next meal, and this is not where my clothes are coming from, and this is not an acceptable form of family entertainment, and wild animals don't exist, so we can kill them in the name of sport. Animals should not be treated as models of human diseases. It takes